Hello and welcome to the Vector Garden YouTube channel. In this quick tip, we are going to talk about a setting inside some effects. So let's select this and let's go to Effect, Distort and Transform, Roughen. So that's the Roughen effect, and maybe you have already used it and you know what it does. Now there's this setting, relative and absolute. And this setting exists in some other effects as well. So maybe you have wondered what it does. Let's set this to absolute and you see it changes. So it looks differently. And also the units here change. This is percent, of course, for relative, and this is absolute. It's in the document unit. So what does that mean? I'm going to set that to relative because it's stronger and I don't need to shift those sliders. So let's keep that. Now what's that about? And for that I'm going to move that to the side, and here we have a smaller object. And the smaller object, I'm going to apply that effect. So let's double click the eyedropper tool and I'm going to set it so that it picks up the effect. So let's select this, and with the eyedropper tool I'm going to pick it up. And you see, well, this is kind of not what you expected, because you expect that this should be applied to that so that there are more roughness, as in this one. So why doesn't that work? Maybe you have scaled a stroke. Let's make it like this. And then you apply a stroke to that, and then you scale that. And you see the stroke gets thicker and thinner. That's a setting in the preferences. So it's this, scale, strokes and effects. And we're getting there. So this absolute and relative setting is that the effect is applied based on the size of the object. So what we had here, when we go into the appearance panel and open that again, then you see it's 5%. And this 5% depends on the size of that object. So the size of those ridges is 5% of the size of the object, and 5% of this small circle is not a lot. So let's cancel that and let's select them both and go to Roughen, and then let's set that to absolute and make more detail. And then you see we get the same amount in both of these objects. So now it's applied in absolute values. So we got a size of 1.7 millimeters on both objects, regardless of their size. And so they look uniform on the artboard. Let's go to OK. Let's check out these here. And for these, the same applies. So let's go to that effect again, like so. And you see the default is relative. And again, we don't get the same effect. So it doesn't look the same. And when we set this to absolute and make more detail, then you see that we could apply this effect to the complete layer, and all the strokes would have the same amount of roughness to them. That's why we have the setting of relative and absolute. The setting also exists when you have, and I'm going to set that to black, like so. And if you want to have a box behind that text, then you can go into the appearance panel, make a box. I'm going to make that in a light gray, move it below the characters, and then to that fill apply the effect convert to shape rounded rectangle, so we get a button. And you see this is set to relative by default, and let's make it smaller and make this smaller as well. And here also, depending on how long that text is, the box scales with it. So there you have that setting as well. And now you can choose. So for the convert to shape, if you use it for that kind of purpose, then relative is perfect. And if you want to have your strokes roughened or your objects roughened, then absolute is better.